Hey guys, it's Tuesday, $2 Tuesdays at WagerTalk and Sports Memo. I'm Lawrence Presman, the Prez, co-founder of WagerTalk Media, owner of WagerTalk.com, SportsMemo.com, and the iconic Gold Sheet. Great show today. Lots of hockey on tap. We're going to take apart 4 games in depth, and then we're going to go to the last minute of play. I got Carmine Bianco with us and Alex B. Smith. Let me bring them in and let's get to it. Hey, boys. Alex, I'll go to you first. How are you, buddy? What's going on with you?
I'm doing pretty good. It's pouring down raining here in Minnesota, but it was a nice night last night. I had the Colorado-St. Louis first period over. That was my 5% best bet, and I cashed quite easily. Of course, the power play for the Avalanche is what helped that one cash in. They've been red hot, and they did end up losing in regulation, though, so now we have no more teams undefeated in regulation, and unfortunately we have no more teams that are losing at home because the Dallas Stars, they got that 2-1 win, but a lot of people got burnt over with that laying the goal and a half or laying the goal with Ottawa. I mean, they should have gotten crushed in that game, but unfortunately it did not happen. That way.
I was one of those people that lost with, I released Dallas -1.5 last night, and 3 goal posts, 2 crossbars, 3 minutes with an empty net. They actually held the puck for a minute of that time period. Just nothing is going right for me at all, other than baseball. I'm just getting annihilated in every sport. But, Carm, you've been with me for a long time, brother. And I don't know, do you remember 2 years ago in October, I was ready to hang myself?
Yeah, listen, it happens over the course of a complete year, because these aren't seasons for us. It's sport, which goes from January to December. There are going to be months where you absolutely say to yourself, what the hell is going on? I can't pick a winner. I literally want to fade myself. But there are more winning days than there are losing days. And you always end up having a plus units year in, year out. So it absolutely sucks. I just to go off on a bit of a tangent, I was looking at my numbers over the last couple of years, and I looked at 2 years ago, and I said to myself, why are my numbers a little lower, even though I made money on the year? And I looked at November. I went month by month. I got absolutely destroyed in November 2017, and I had no idea I was getting destroyed at the time. So it's one of those things.
It must be nice not knowing when you're getting destroyed, because I do know, and it's utterly killing me, man. Dude, let's talk hockey. Let's talk about the Dallas game, because I am bitter about it. But what I want to mention is Vivian, my girlfriend, firstly, it's her birthday today. I need an I in the middle.
Wait, is that
it's hard, because if I go to the left, the screen goes to the right. So there.
I'm not sure if
it's
you're referring to
V-I-V. Viv.
Oh, I thought maybe you're referring to Super Bowl 11 or something like that. I'm not really sure.
We were watching the game last night, guys, and Ottawa looked like a minor league team. They couldn't hold the puck at all. At all. Time of possession must have been 40-20 Dallas. I don't know if you watched it, Alex, but I don't think I've ever seen such an abysmal performance by a team in the NHL in my entire life, and they lost 2-1.
I would say that since the lockout era, there's only been a few teams where they've really just completely struggled game after game to possess the puck. And like I said, that was something that in the 90s and 2000s, sure, you saw teams that were just completely abysmal at moving the puck and didn't have clean passing whatsoever. The Hawks were like that back in the day. But nowadays, usually teams skate well and pass well, but that's just not the case with Ottawa. There's not one thing that they do right, or even at like you said, at a mid-range level. In the NHL, they look worse than they did last year. We know at this time last year, that's when you had the defenseman getting recorded in the Uber talking about, our coaching's terrible and all this different stuff. They seem even worse than where they were at that point last year, and you think it couldn't get any better, couldn't get any worse than that, but it somehow has. So things are not bright at all in the Canadian capital.
Well,
It's one of those
and given that given that it was an election yesterday, things are very dark in the Canadian capital. Nicely said, Alex. Carm?
Yeah, I think the Prez is happy because the Prez's friend was reelected as the prime minister. And when I say friend, he actually is a friend. It's not as if he's just a fanboy of Justin Trudeau. They did travel the world debating, I believe, during their university years. And I did get to meet Trudeau at a charity event a couple of years back because of the Prez. But anyways, when we go to the obviously Ottawa sold off some of its assets last year, and I almost feel like this Ottawa team, when you listen to management or talking about how they are in a rebuilding stage and they're going to be better in years to come, it reminds me of, and why I have problem at times with my friends who are Leaf fans, much like the Prez, because during the Harold Ballard years of Toronto, the team was so bad, and every time they brought in a GM, it was a 5-year plan to be better. And then after 5 years, they brought in a new GM who had a new 5-year plan.
Okay, Carm, we don't need it.
No, I'm sorry, but the bottom line was they were so bad for so long, and the fans defended them, and that's my problem with most Leaf fans. They've got a good team now, a cup contender. It's a little different, but this is how I feel about Ottawa now. Could be the Leafs of the Harold Ballard era.
It might be worse than that. They remind me of the Hawks during the end of the Bill Wirtz run with, they were kept recycling Bob Pulford as a coach or a general manager. They brought in Mike Smith, who was, hell-bent on drafting nothing but Russian players. They couldn't sign any free agents, and when they did, they signed over-the-hill guys like Theo Fleury. It's an absolute shit show in Ottawa, and if it's anything like it was with the Hawks in the early 2000s, it's going to be bad for quite a while.
Boys, let's get to it. Alex B. Smith, Carmine Bianco. Alex can be found at sportsmemo.com, Carmine at WagerTalk.com. It's $2 Tuesdays over at Sports Memo and WagerTalk. That means we take our hottest handicapper and we feature him and make him only $2. Sometime soon we're going to say him and her. Guys, Toronto going into Boston tonight, back-to-back games. They played each other, well, not back-to-back for Toronto. Toronto did lose in overtime last night to Columbus. Funny how I actually said Toronto was going to lose to Columbus, but I cannot bet against the Leafs. Shame on me. Anyway, they're going into Boston tonight, and Toronto's going to lose again. Not only is Toronto going to lose, Alex, but I like the under in this game. I mean, I think 6 in a row now for Toronto going over the total, one push inside of there. And that's really what's keeping me off of the over. I'm not going to get to the window with it, but I will talk tomorrow about how I regretted not doing that. Under 6.5 for me and Boston as well in regulation. Alex?
Yeah, you got 4 of the last 5 meetings of these two teams going over the total, and now you have Michael Hutchinson in that. We talked about this
so weird.
Yeah, just strange. Why would you not have Anderson, your better goalie, playing against the better team in the Bruins? And obviously it didn't matter last night because the game went to the overtime, and then you had the penalty shot and whatnot. So, this might actually be a time I would think, even though it's because it's early in the season, give Anderson another start. Let him, bounce back off of that loss. Let him get some, he's going to play 60, 65 games anyway. You can give him some rest down the road. I think now's the time where, coming off of those back-to-back losses, try to right the ship with your number one guy. Don't, just harbor and let your number 2 guy because, the guy needs rest. I mean, it's October 22nd for crying out loud. Leafs need a win against the division rival here. I would go with my number 1 goalie, but that's not the case. It's going to be Hutchinson. So I would lean with the Bruins, and I would lean with the over.
So we both agree with the Bruins. Carm, solve our total dilemma.
I will solve both your dilemmas. I think it's a bad spot for the Leafs. It's their 3rd game in 4 nights. Rask, they rested Rask in Toronto, and I was at that game with one of the WagerTalk clients who was in town visiting. So we saw that game. Halak in net. It's this Leafs defense that I understand it's early in the season, but this is something they need to fix, because you look at it, they've allowed they're allowing goals. They've allowed like 11 in their past 3. They allowed 6 to the Canadiens. They allowed 7 to Tampa Bay. I know that this isn't going to be a long-term problem. They're eventually going to solve it. It's early in the season, but it's an issue that they need to resolve if they want to sort of finish in that second spot in the Atlantic. Because if we're giving it to Tampa Bay, the top spot, you're going to want a home ice eventually in the playoffs against the Bruins, because that's who you're going to play in the first round. It's just not a good spot here, and with Hutchinson in net tonight, I think the Bruins not only win this game, but I think it's going to be another high-scoring game. The Leafs are going to net you goals. You know that they're going to score goals. It's whether they can fix this problem with their leaky D at the moment. So it's Bruins and the over for me.
Detroit. Next game we're going to talk about +1.5 against Vancouver. +105 against Vancouver. So Vancouver's a short favorite at -125. We have a total of 6 here, and this is a bit of a fishy line. It's making me a little nervous. Vancouver's a lot better team than Detroit. I'm passing on this game, Alex. I literally have nothing.
Well, I would look at this first period. You can get plus $1.08, $1.10 here. Vancouver on the road, 1-4 to the under in the first period. Detroit, like I said, they started off a bit sharp, and then all of a sudden the defense kind of fell underneath them. But so now their offense, they had Anthony Mantha, Dylan Larkin. That top line was scoring lights out, and all of a sudden they've kind of cooled off a little bit. So I could see this kind of being a lower scoring game here. So I would look at first period under and maybe even full game under.
Mr. Bianco, sir.
Yeah, Vancouver's playing well. Detroit, okay, they went through that Canadian, if you want to call it a Western road trip. They dropped all 3 games. It started in Vancouver with a 5-1 loss, and then they couldn't score. They scored a goal in Edmonton, a goal in Calgary. Lost all 3. They've been off for 3 days, so they've had time to get home, sort of rest the legs, refresh, and probably work on playing a little bit better defensively. It's Howard in net tonight. I like the way Howard plays at home for Detroit. And it's Markstrom. It's going to be Markstrom in net. And he's got, he's only 3-2, but he's got a 2.19 goals against average. And this is the last game of a 4-game road trip for Vancouver. They've picked up wins in 2 of them, and the one they lost was a 1-0 win, loss to the Devils. So they're playing well defensively. I have to agree that the first half, the first quarter, so first period. I'm thinking soccer. I'm dressed in soccer because it's Champions League today. The first period under looks good, and I would lean to the under 6 in the game as well.
Yeah, I see you're wearing your Inter Milan jersey.
Yeah, it's very funny.
No, is it Barca?
Yeah. Do you know that the funny thing is I'm at the Leafs game. I've got Reds, very nice seats. And I'm in section 104. I look over in section 105, and who is walking in with his girlfriend, but the Prez, one section over. and then she somehow gets on the Jumbotron
Somehow?
during one of the intermission things or commercial breaks where she's up and she's dancing in her Leaf uniform. And of course, I think the Prez caught it on video. I'm not sure if he uploaded it to Twitter.
She was looking sexy as hell. LA Kings going into Winnipeg tonight, and both these teams have won their last game. The Kings beat Calgary 4-1, but they did lose 3 before that, and they really struggled to score in that little stretch. They got 2 ducks, as they call it in cricket, 2 zeros, and Winnipeg beat Edmonton 1-0. They lost their 3 prior to that too, and they are really struggling to score, which is a huge surprise. It's absolutely amazing to me. I mean, it was a 1-0 game against Edmonton. I was on the over in that game. 3-1 loss to the Islanders, 4-2 loss to Arizona, 7-2 loss prior to that to Pittsburgh. I'm blown away that this Winnipeg team is struggling to put up goals. With their shoddy defense, man, I thought we'd get games in the 8s and 9s with this Winnipeg team. They've gone under twice. My initial gut was telling me the over in this game. I can't do it. I like Winnipeg, though. I think this is a real tough spot for the LA Kings. First game of a road trip. Pretty long travel day for them. I think Winnipeg on the money line in regulation and the puck line. I think this game could be very one-sided. Alex?
I got to disagree with you on that one. There's no way I'm laying money with this Winnipeg team right now, the way they're playing. Even though LA is not much to write home about, but like you said, the first game of a road trip, this is probably as fresh as they'll be for the next week or so. I like the first period over here in this spot. Kings are 6-2 to the first period over, including 3-0 on the road. Like I said, the Jets, if they're going to get their offense rolling, it would be against this Kings defense that has been allowing in goals in bunches. But like I said, it's yet to be seen whether they are going to be, turning it on offensively. So I actually like the LA Kings money line in the first period. You can get at plus $1.25, but I like that first period over as well. I think we'll see some goals early, and then maybe the defense will tighten up in the second and third period.
Carmine, my predicted score is 4-1 in this game. Where are you going?
Yeah, I'm leaning to Winnipeg here. I think, again, we look at when I talked about the Leafs having to fix their D. I'm not saying Winnipeg has fixed their D. They did make some changes in how they rolled out those lines against Edmonton, and I was on that over as well too. It's kind of we kind of took a bad beat there that it didn't go to a shootout where they count all the goals.
Oh yeah, good one.
They don't.
Alex called me. He's like, they should count every goal in the shootout. So you're like on over 6, it goes in at 1-0, and then it ends up 9-8.
Listen, I knew my bet there was dead 15 minutes into the first period, but I watched the game because so early in the season, it had a playoff feel to it. The fans were into it. The players were into it. It was they kept a high octane Oilers squad to like 7 shots, 8 shots, and 9 shots through 3 periods, 24 shots, which you just don't see. Edmonton, Colorado, they play such a high octane, to use that word again, type of game, and Winnipeg completely shut them down. It was a great game. Is it the turning? Are they turning the corner to start a run? Sometimes we see teams, and you look at it, and they're like, all of a sudden they're 7 wins in a row, and you're like, why wasn't I on this earlier on? Do I jump onto this? Do I jump onto this streak now? This could be one of them. We see it with some teams that started slow, and this could be the case with this Winnipeg Jets team. I'm not a fan of Jonathan Quick, and I think he's going to be in goal tonight. They haven't announced the starters that I could see. Hellebuyck will be in net for Winnipeg, and I'm just not. I just don't think his numbers are good across the board early into the season. So I'm taking Winnipeg at home at a short price. Arizona
Coyotes on the road playing the New York Rangers, and this game is interesting to me, Alex. The New York Rangers, that's basically a pick'em game. And the New York Rangers came into this year with some pretty high expectations. I mean, they made some real savvy, strong pickups during the year. They still feel like the king can play goal. And Arizona comes into every year with the exact same expectation. Which one of the bottom 3 teams could they be? Yet here we have a pick'em game in New York. You like that, Alex?
Yeah, that's funny.
Pretty good.
I can't believe this team still is in Arizona. But anyway, Arizona's won 3 in a row, 4 of their last 5. The Rangers have lost 4 in a row right now. I'm telling you, Alex, the New York Rangers are the play tonight. These teams, every team in the league, except maybe Tampa Bay, is likely going to go on a 4 or 5 game losing streak, but it doesn't go on for an extended period of time. And the Rangers are a good team, much better than their 0-4 record suggests in the last 4 games. I think this team is going to play. They're going to duke it out with Montreal and Buffalo and Florida for a wild card spot. I like the Rangers tonight, man.
Yeah, this is a spot where I'd probably be looking at the over here, actually. You said Arizona finally playing some, as good of hockey they'll probably to play there all year. They beat a bad Ottawa team. Before that, beat a good Nashville team scoring 5 goals. These are the Rangers allowing goals in bunches. They got Georgiev in net tonight, not Lundqvist. So this could be a game where we see go back and forth. I would lean with the Rangers because they have dominated Arizona over the years. They've won 9 of the last 10 at home and 9 of the last 11 overall against Arizona. So lean with the Rangers, but I like the over a little bit more.
Mr. Bianco, sir, where you?
We all have different plays in this one, which isn't going to really help the viewers. But this is like a home game for Arizona, and the reason I say it's like a home game for Arizona is because in Arizona there aren't any Arizona fans. It's literally the away fans that are somewhat filling the stands there. But no, all kidding aside, I can't side with the Rangers team right now. I think before they can get it going again, they need one of those gimmies, and a gimme like against like an Ottawa team or
an Arizona team,
or Detroit team. Look at Arizona. 7 games into the season, they've got 4 wins. Look at their 3 losses: 2 to start the season against a Ducks team that started well in Anaheim. They lost to the Bruins, who started out 4 or 5-0, I think it was, to start the season. And they lost in overtime 3-2 to Colorado in Colorado. They're competing every single game. This Rangers team, 4 straight losses. They've allowed 4.25 goals over those 4 losses. And on the season, they're allowing 3.67 goals per game. It's one of those things where, so obviously, this is the dumbest thing I'm going to say. To beat Arizona tonight, they've got to outscore them. Obviously, that has to happen. But Arizona is going to score goals tonight. I have to believe, even with the King out and Georgiev, who's probably, I think, the better of the two at this point in net tonight. But I've got to lean to Arizona as a very small favorite here to get the win.
You can get Arizona over team total over 3.5 at plus 130. So based on what you just said, that might be something to look at.
Guys, it's time for the last minute of play. Alex, before we get into that, coaches to be fired. Any bets there?
Yeah, I mean, they have the props up at Bovada, and the two I'm looking at, John Hines from New Jersey at plus 4 to 1. I mean, you saw the assistant general manager, Tom Fitzgerald, basically join the coaching staff and help with practice earlier this week. So that was one that was rumored. But right here in Minnesota, Bruce Boudreau has had some issues already with Bill Guerin over the composition of the roster. These guys that he wants down in Iowa, up here in Minnesota, and vice versa. So at plus 280, and I'm going to be keeping a close ear and eye on things. Boudreau might be out, especially if they lose tonight against the Edmonton team that's coming in.
Boys, let's go. 10 seconds each. Buffalo minus 115 against San Jose at home, a total of 6.5. I like Buffalo in this game, but I prefer the over. Alex?
Yeah, Buffalo has been dominating San Jose for years, home and road. Got to go with the Sabres.
Carmine Bianco?
For the exact same stats, they seem to beat San Jose every time they play them. I'm going to take the Sabres tonight. Hutton in net tonight, 2 straight shutouts. We'll see if he can keep it going.
Florida minus 132 against Pittsburgh with a total of 6. I like the over in this game, Alex.
Yeah, Florida's defense is an absolute mess. It'd be a good time for Pittsburgh to get some goals, so I like the over as well.
Carmine?
I'm echoing the same thoughts here. I really like the over. I like the fast-paced game that this Panthers team plays.
Nashville minus 175 against Anaheim with a low total of 5.5. Nashville's gone over 7 of their 8 games. This is a straight pass for me, Alex.
I can see this where it might actually be an under here tonight. I'll go with Anaheim Nashville under here. John Gibson against Pekka could be a scoreless one early and throughout.
And Carmine Bianco, sir?
Yeah, I'm leaving Alex on his own here. I'm passing on this game. I like the way the Preds are playing, but the Ducks are the kind of team that can come in and steal one like 2-1, so I'm staying away from
Minnesota minus 125 against Edmonton. Very fishy line. They're absolutely begging you to take Edmonton here. I'm passing.
Yeah, it's a gift. I'll take it. Edmonton.
Carm?
It's the same thing for me. They're begging for Edmonton money, And when you've done this long enough, when they're begging you to take them, you're either going the other way or passing, and I'm passing here. So it's a pass.
Vegas Golden Knights got walloped last night by Philadelphia. A huge shout out to Marco D'Angelo. He had his first 5-star ever in hockey yesterday. Just showed up randomly with a play. He got some info. It was on Philadelphia. He won it. He also made the single most amount of hockey sales in one day in the history of both WagerTalk and Sports Memo. So shout out to Marco, my brother. Chicago plus 105 pick'em game. Basically 6.5 is the total. Vegas Knights, 3 games in 4 nights, back to back. Yet I'm gonna pass.
Yeah, this is a bad spot for the Hawks. They've lost 6 of all the meetings against Vegas so far, and playing a pissed off Vegas team, that's not a good spot. Knights should outskate them and win this.
Mr. Bianco, sir.
Same thing. I'm really happy that Marco won that play. I'm in Vegas next week, and I'm assuming that he's going to pick up the tab when we go for dinner. So,
I mean, he picks up every tab. In all seriousness, Marco picks up every tab we've ever had when he's at dinner, when we go out in Vegas, and then I get sent the invoice.
But at least for that short period of time, you had the satisfaction of
Well,
knowing
now I just
that
know
someone
the
else had
invoice is
picked up
coming,
the
so
tab.
the satisfaction is gone.
But yeah, the Vegas Knights, they went to not even their backup goalie. Subban, not Supan, was obviously injured. So they went to, they called up their third stringer, albeit, and, he played well for a while, maybe 5-10 minutes. But listen, I think Vegas bounces back. Again, I think it's a good spot for them. They're a little pissed about getting blown out last night. There was really no effort there. I think we'll see it tonight.
Calgary minus 125 hosting Washington. Total is 6.5. I liked over 6. That was going to be a play for me. I still like over 6.5, but I'm not releasing it. Alex?
I'll take a shot with Washington here at even money. I think we see them put up a good effort on the road tonight against Calgary.
He's Alex B. Smith from sportsmemo.com. The bald man is Carmine, wearing the Inter Milan jersey. Love having you guys on. Great show. Outstanding. We'll see you all tomorrow. Everybody, thanks so much for watching Puck Time. And I got to tell you guys who watch it and comment, I do an NFL show every week. I do a college football show every week. I do the betting edge every single day. I do prime time with Joe Ranieri and Rob Vino as well. 13 shows a week. The comments and love that we get for Puck Time stands alone. This is my favorite show to do with my favorite guests and my favorite audience. Thanks so much, everybody. Be well, and hope the puck bounces for you tonight.